can see here on the picture several presentations of giants. On the right side, you have a man presented with a size of about 1.8 meter. And then it goes up over 2 meter, 3 meter, 5 meter, up to here, 7.5 meter. This is Professor Hertag, who also went there and checked it. And this is a model of a giant with about 7.5 meter. I went with Michael Dellinger to an area where you can see a very big human footprint in rock. And the question is why this rock is, the footprint is standing up. It might be the result of a big earthquake or a big catastrophe. And we measured it, and it's about 1.5 meter. That means about 5 feet long. That would fit a giant in the size between 6 and 7 or 8 meters. When I went to Ecuador, I got informations about a church father who found in the mountains in Ecuador the broken skeleton of a 7.6 meter giant. And I only got the name Father Carlos Vaca, and also the area, approximately area where it was, where he found those broken bones. And I really wanted to get in contact with him. And I asked my Ecuadorian friend if he can drive me to the south of Ecuador. And we were looking to find the Father Carlos Vaca. When we arrived in a town, we took a hotel, and in the evening, I went to the reception and asked the secretary if she knows anything about a Father Carlos Vaca and the bones of a 7.6 meter giant. She said no, the name Carlos Vaca she never heard, but across the street there is a church, and in that church they collect all the informations about all the fathers of this province. So next morning we went there, and a nun, a sister came, and I asked her if she knows anything about Father Carlos Vaca. She said, no, the name doesn't say anything for her, to her, but she will check in the office. It took her about half an hour, then she came back and she said, you are very lucky because since last years, Father Carlos Vaca is working in the big hospital in the town. So we took a taxi and we went there, and at the gate it was closed, control. So I asked the guardman if he knows Father Carlos Vaca, and he said, yes, I know him, but he passed away exactly a month ago. So it was a pity information for me, but I asked him, do you know where he lived? And he said there were about 20 taxis. And then he looked and he said, the taxi driver of the first taxi every day when Father Carlos Vaca stopped, he brought him home. So I was very lucky. We went inside the taxi and I said, could you bring us please to the house of Father Carlos Vaca? He brought us there, and I knocked the door on the house, and his niece came out, and I asked her, may I ask you something about Father Carlos Vaca? She said, yes, please come in. He was my uncle, but he passed away a month ago. It was pity that I couldn't find him before, because I know this man had a lot of knowledge about unknown, hidden, unknown places and unknown stories from Ecuador. So when she gave us a coffee, and then I asked her if she knows anything about the bones of the giant the father found. She said yes, and she brought us to his room, and he opened a big case, a big box, and there were a lot of those bones. So after my second trip, I visited her again, and I asked her, how can we find the place where Father Wacker found those bones? And she said he brought her there one day, but she does not know if she remember exactly where this area is. So her son, we went together with her son with the car down to the province Loja, and we were driving down more south, and she did not remember. And finally, she said, I'm very sorry, but I cannot exactly remember where the so-called cemetery of the giants is in Aymara. The place of that area was called the cemetery of the giants. So we were already on our way back, and I saw an old man on a horse coming up on a small road from down from the valley up to the road. And I said, let us try last chance. We asked that gentleman, and we stopped, and the lady asked the man, do you know where the cemetery of the giants is? He said, yes, just follow the road I came up, and then you arrived there. So we went down, and it's a very dangerous road. I mean, small and very dangerous with the car of her son. And then we arrived on a small farmer house, and that was the owner, directly the owner of the area where Father Carlos found those bones. And he showed us exactly where those places are and everything. And finally, I was allowed to take some bones with me to Austria. We had several checks on the bones. Always the result was, it looks exactly like this one, a part of a broken heel bone. Everybody who checked it, doctors and experts, they said, well, it looks like a human bone, but it's impossible because that's at least 5 times bigger than our bones. So that means it would be the approval of 7.56 meter. That's another photo of that heel bone. I also could bring with me a part of the nose bone and a so-called os occipitale, which we have on the bottom of our skull, which makes us able to move our skull in several directions. And when I did the exhibition in 2006, Unsolved Mysteries in Interlaken, I asked a very good sculptor and researcher from United States, Alexander Putney, and he went with me to Ecuador. He made measurement on different bones the father found, and his niece kept there, and he made a really wonderful replica, exactly 7.6 meter giant for the exhibition. And you can see here 2 of the workers, and where their kneel bones, the giant's kneel bones were. So really, we made a model. Of course, we don't know exactly how this giant looked like, but we just tried to make a replica to show how big is 7.6 meter. Then in a close by museum, we found these stone eggs. It is 70 centimeter long. It is made out of granite. And when we made the photo, we took the string here around the area where you can see on this artifact that it was used in former times. It was really used because in the museum, it is explained as ceremonial eggs. And that would fit approximately a giant of 7.6 meter, because we checked the size of other normal stone axes from the same area, and the measurement gave us the result that this one is approximately 5 times bigger than a usual normal stone axe from old days. And interesting is that Tirsa de Leon, his mother was an Inca princess, and his father was a Spanish, and he was historian for the conquistadors. And he wrote in one of his reports, today we found several skeletons on the coast of Esmeraldas in Ecuador, and they were 5 times taller than we were. And the priest who accompanied them, he ordered them to burn those bones because he said that could be only from the devil. So they had to burn those skeletons. Then also a connection with possible giants is the Cueva de los Tallos. The Cueva de los Tallos is a very deep underground tunnel system in Ecuador, where Manuel Palacios already visited several times with military and archaeologists. And he gave me this photo. And you see a very big stone hall with the entrance here. And when I received the photo, I asked Manuel on Skype if this here on the right side of the entrance is a human, because it looks like a human. And Manuel said, no, that is a drawing, that is a painting, a wall painting. And a human next to that is here, that small black here, that is a human. So if you compare again, you come up to the size of around 7.5 meter. A wall painting of a human with a size of 7.5 meter. That would give an explanation why the entrance and the hall is so big here. So then we have one approval of at least very big people from Colombia. This is Padre Huertas, with a human clavicle. I don't know exactly the spelling, clavicle, clavicle, human bone from the breast shoulder. That is also much bigger, which you can compare with the shoulder of Padre Huertas. And here's a measurement of the bone. And it is broken here. Then a small trip to Bolivia. Professor Giancarlo Bonfanti from Italy, he did many researches in Bolivia. And I got the photos from one skeleton they found in an underground tunnel made out of stone with a small room. And there is a big stone block. And on the block, there was one of those skeletons. And the size, he explained me, they found they were between 2.8 and 3.2 meter. And he made close-up photos of the skull. You can see that the jaw bone is very strong, and it's different with like our skulls. And the most interesting is that This is one bone without any chronicle structure. We have here another bone line and one going over the skull. Here, the face bone looks like a mask on the skeleton, on the skull. For me, very interesting, and definitely not Homo sapiens or other known human. Then I show you, I did not see those bones by myself, but the man who found it on that picture, he gave me the press report about this finding. This is a normal teeth from a normal person, and this is one part of the skeleton they found, just to compare how much bigger the skeleton was. He informed me that the skeleton had the size of over 3.5 meters. They found also some stone artifacts there. And he said he informed the government, and they brought the skeleton to the National Museum, and he never got it back again. So the only memory he has, the press report they did when he discovered this skeleton of a human giant. And another approval that there were people much taller than we are. That's from United States, Ed Conrad. He's a journalist, and he found in a stopped coal mine, in the material, he found many pieces which gave him the approval that those bones and pieces of skulls petrified or inside the discovered coal material, the approval that human lived at the time this coal was getting qualification. So that's a big stone. We brought him also the stone to our exhibition in Interlaken and in Berlin. And you can see here the form of a human skeleton. This is a model of a normal human skeleton. You can see how taller this human was. And when you knocked here on the top of the skull, you can clearly hear that inside is hollow. That means that while the petrification inside the skull was not filled with soil. He also found in the same area a skull ceiling. They did CAT scans, they did X-rays, and it looks definitely like a petrified skull ceiling. He found also one piece, looks like a gallbladder, and some fingers. Even you can see here the difference to the normal, to the finger, the fingernail. Also here you can see it. And when he reported several times in the newspaper he was working for, he got information from a very old coal miner, and he explained him that he found this looks like a finger, and you can see here definitely clear, it looks like a fingernail, and here the finger itself. Ed Conrad is about a man with about 1.8, 1.85 centimeter tall. And you can see his hand is really big, but this one is even much bigger than his fingers. Also found from that coal miner by himself deep underground where he excavated coal. Then another approval about a different human and bigger human than we are is this old photo from Malta. in the Mediterranean island. It was presented with other similar skull plates inside the museum, but in nowadays they don't show it anymore. But around 10 years ago, Adriano Forcione, he is a researcher and also a publisher of a very interesting magazine. He made contact with the Italian television, and they went to Malta, and they got the allowance in the museum to film and check one of those ancient skulls. And you can see this is a normal skull, and this is one of the skull ceilings they presented in former days in the museum. The interesting thing is that again here in Bolivia, they only had one line on the skull ceiling here on top, and in the rest of the skull, none in the middle, which we have. And this one also has only one skull line from left side to right side, but no second one in the middle. So that means a very strange unknown human, and taller than we are, of course. These are footsteps from Ein Dara temple close to Aleppo in Syria, and they call it the footstep of the god Ishtar. These photos, Professor Muldashev, a very famous eye doctor from Russia, Ufa, he makes every year an expedition with different scientists, like a geologist, like an anthropologist, a mathematician. He always takes with him different Russian scientists that they can do a good research directly on the spot from different sides of the science. And he said those footsteps are very big, and they could take a part of this so-called rock formation, especially the white cover, and they did chemical and scientific research in Russia, and they got the approval that this is man-made cement, not natural stone formation. And those stone steps are not made by human. It looks like the giant, and the size, he said, could be between 6 and 7 meters. The giant was standing here with both feet inside that, at the time, not hard material. And then he made a step forward, and from that step forward, he jumped out from that soft material here, because you can see that his heel bone was deeper than here, both with standing and then making one step forward. So that might be an approval that those footsteps are not artificial made, but made by a human with a big size. The next two photos I got from my friends from Utah, researchers. They excavated several human skeletons with a size between 2.7 and 3 meters, with a lot of strange artifacts. Then another lot of stories in Sardinia. There are hundreds of so-called nuriages, which are age-dated by the archaeologists around 1,400 years. But I think they are much older, because in connection with those stone towers, there are also the so-called giant graves, giant tombs. made with big stone blocks. It remembered me on the photos of which I got from Namibia. The same style of big stone blocks, very heavy on top, closed, and big inside, long inside, and very old people in the next town. When we had our lunch, we started talking with the old people, and one of them, very old man, he told me when he was a child, he saw that military came to one of those closed giant tombs, and they brought out very big bones and loaded on the trucks, and they brought it away. So even here on Sardinia, there lived giants in ancient time. And why the age dating is not believable is because they found under the sea also giant tombs under the sea level. That means the ancient civilization made those monuments already at the time when there was no water in this area. So that means we are really talking about at least over 10,000 years. Then the last connection to giants is Yonaguni. In Yonaguni, that's the southeast island, Japanese island, close to Taiwan. A diver found many years ago a big, huge underground monument under the sea level, about 25 meters under the sea level. It's definitely human-made. Professor Nakamura, under a sea geologist, he did all the research, and he brought the model and also 2 artifacts which he found down there to my exhibition to Vienna and Interlaken. There, he explained to me that there are very high steps going up to these formations, which are very hard to climb up by normal sized people. And he also is thinking about the existence of giants who made these monuments. There is, for example, one formation which he called the Sphinx. It looks like a human face. There are the big steps. There is a big turtle here. You can see on top of this turtle, there is one diver, and you can see the size of that turtle. There is also a big eagle on top of this formation. There are tunnels and other structures which are showing to Professor Nakamura that Professor Kimura, that this is definitely human-made and a gigantic work, most probably also by giants. You can see here the steps and the size of the divers, how tall these steps are going up to this formation on top of the formation. And then we go back to the little people. This mummy was found many years ago in the desert of Atacama. The owner now is a doctor from Barcelona, and 2006 he brought this skeleton to our exhibition in Interlaken, and we could check it, and we could also make photos, and we got it again 2008 for our exhibition in 2007 in Berlin, in Germany. And I brought several experts, and they checked it, and they said it's definitely not a human fetus, because first of all, the skull is different. You can see the top of the skull, the eyes are different, and the mouth is different. And also different is that this mummy has only 10 ribs. We have 12 ribs. The bones are different, especially the connections between the bones, and the fingers are very, very strange, completely different. And this is the connection to the bone. It's mummified. And the interesting thing is, in Russia, I got a DVD documentation from Russia. An old lady was living deep in the wood alone in a wooden house, and she went every 1 month. She went to town and she bought food which she needed for her. And one time when she was finished with shopping, she got a kind of heart attack. She fell down and they brought her immediately to the hospital. And when the lady waked up, she said always, I have to go home. I have to go home. I have to feed my baby. I have to feed my baby. And of course, the doctors knew, they knew that the lady is alone. So they didn't care about her, what she said. And one nurse, she knew that old lady, and the old lady started crying and told her, I have to go home to feed my baby. So she asked the police to go with her to the house, and they found inside the house a skeleton, not skeleton, a slightly mummified, a small being exactly or very close looking like this mummy from Chile. And when the nurse came back to the hospital, she asked the lady, what did she feed the so-called baby? And how did she find it? She said she found it in the deep wood and she brought it home, and that being stayed with her and she fed it with sugar water. She said that the so-called, she called it baby, only took sugar water. So very similar and very small, also approximately 24, 25 centimeter tall. The same, the Russian one. Then another very small skull was found in Morocco, in Northern Africa. And the professor which got it, he did many researches on it. He told me it's the size of an apple, and it's definitely not an ape, and it was found in an area where only fossils are around, and it is definitely petrified. He said it is a very small human petrified skull, size of an apple. And last not least, we go to Ecuador, but elongated skulls you find all over the world. And when we visited the Nazca lines in our research for the exhibition, we came to a small private museum, which is called Maria Reiche Museum in Ica. And Maria Reiche was a German lady which spent nearly her whole life in Peru, checking and researching on the famous Nazca lines, which you can only see from the air. And in that small museum, there are elongated skulls which were found in the area around Ica, but there are also elongated skulls in other areas of Peru. But the question on some of them for me and even for experts is, are those really elongated skulls artificial made elongation, or are those a different kind of human? And especially in the area of Ica, Paracas, and another area here, there are many legends about people with flat head, people with round head, and people with elongated head. And elongated heads in that museum are a lot. And for me, the most interesting one was this one, because you still have parts of the skin and even hair on it. And it is really extremely long, which doctors also agreed with me. It would not be possible to make such a long, big elongation artificially with binding. So very interesting. And after I presented first time those pictures, Brian Förster from Peru contacted me and asked me to give him information where I found them so that he can do further research on it. He didn't know anything about the museum, Reich Museum in Ica, which is not really very popular. That's one of the glass cases with different elongated skulls. Each one you see here is completely different. It looks like from different species. But I would not immediately say alien, alien. It has to be definitely checked. And I heard that they did already DNA analysis and it came out South American DNA. This is one skull in the National Museum in Lima, and that could be one of the so-called flat heads, which are in the legends in that area. And this is a model how approximately that human would have looked like. And two photos of trepanation, which are also very interesting. For example, this one. And the question is, how can you make that perfect cut with primitive instruments? That's very strange. And some of those people with trepanation, that one, for example, he survived the operation because here the bone was back building. And it's around the area where we have the so-called third eye. The next few interesting artifacts I show you are crystal skulls. This is a crystal skull which is owned, and also the next three following one, by Joke van Dieten. Joke van Dieten is a Dutch lady, and she owns several very old original crystal skulls because we could check them with the most famous crystal and precious stone expert in Europe. That was Dr. Rudolf Distelberger. He was the former director of the treasure room in the National Museum, Kunsthistorisches Museum in Vienna. And he was really the top expert. And he checked all the skulls from Joke van Dieten. She brought 6 of them to my exhibition in Vienna 2001, and also to the exhibition in Berlin. So when she brought them to Vienna personally, we invited Dr. Rudolf Distelberger, and he checked all of them. This, for example, is a quartz, smoke quartz crystal skull, and he checked it very carefully with a loupe, and he said, this crystal skull must be older than 500 years at least, but I cannot say exactly how old it is, but at minimum 500 years, because he has some corrosion in parts of the skull, of the teeth and behind the jaw, which shows him that this corrosion must have taken at least longer than 500 years. Then he said he could see some small points which show him that the raw crystal was cut with a very sharp instrument. And then he said they might, what he thinks they might have used quartz sand for cutting or carving the skull, because he saw some very small scratches which show him that they used most probably quartz sand. And finally, when the skull was finished, they used leather to polish it. And he said it must have taken definitely a very, very long time, and it is definitely handmade without any technical instruments. The second one, also owned by Van Dieten, is Ocean Aquamarine. She called this skull Ocean. It is aquamarine. That's a green variety of beryl, and it was found in northern South America, northern South America. The next skull is made out of jade. It was found 1870 in southwestern Mongolia, and she could buy this skull. Also hand-carved, handmade, very old skull. And when we had the exhibition in Interlaken, a very psychic friend of mine called me. I was in Vienna, and he asked me, Klaus, when are you coming back to Interlaken? I said, why, Karl? He said, there is a famous Russian shaman lady, and I invited her yesterday to my house, and I have hundreds and hundreds of books in my living room. And she went directly to your catalog. She took out the catalog and she said, can I meet that man who made this? And that's why I call you. I said, yeah, it's good, because on Saturday I'm coming anyway to Interlaken. He said, fantastic, because Nina has to return to Siberia on Monday. So on Friday I arrived there, and on Saturday morning I met Nina in the exhibition hall. We went through the exhibition together, and she asked me if she can go again at 9 o'clock when the exhibition was closed, if we can go together through the exhibition when nobody is there. I said, yeah, of course. So with Karl, we went 9 o'clock with Nina through the exhibition, and she explained me a lot of things which I knew already, but it was not written on the explanations. So finally, in front of 6 crystal skulls, Nina started meditation, and suddenly she spoke in a kind of language which I never ever heard. It was definitely also not Russian. And after a while, she was talking in Russian to the interpreter, and the interpreter told me, Nina told me that crystal skull gave her 2 informations. One is for you. The crystal skull informed me that in the future, you will excavate many, many things from the earth, but you have to leave the earth in a good condition after the excavation. At that time, believe me, I had no idea ever doing some excavations. I was only traveling, meeting people who owned or who excavated pieces, but I never thought by myself doing an excavation. And now at that moment, I'm here on the Philippines working on the excavation. So the information was definitely right. And the second information, it was the 13th of November. The second information through the skull to Nina was, in a few days, a big wave will kill 100,000 of people. That was November 2006. And I remember in the morning of December 26, after Christmas evening, I went down to the kitchen and I made my breakfast, and I was listening in the radio about a big tsunami in Southeast Asia, about 20,000 people. And then it was 50,000 people, and the final amount of people was definitely over a few 100,000 people who died through that big tsunami. And this information came through this skull from southern Mongolia, through Nina, the psychic lady from Siberia. Very interesting. I never forget her. The next skull was found in Peru, is made out of lapis lazuli, and she got it from indigenous tribe. And the fourth skull is found in Ukraine, and it is rose quartz, and it is also handmade and very old. She has several other original old skulls. She is keeper of several real old crystal skulls. Then this one was found in Mexico. I got these pictures from the owner, and if I ever make the exhibition Unsolved Mysteries again, I get this one and even many other real original old crystal skulls. And there's a legend which says if 13 old skulls, original skulls come together, something will positive happen. And definitely, I'm sure if I can make the exhibition, I will bring 13 old ones together. That one is also, that's the backside of that crystal skull from Mexico. And very strange is that he is hollow in the inside of the skull. And it's definitely, you can see also the corrosion here. It was found on an excavation, and it is also one of the old original crystal skulls. Another one, also an interesting story. I met Nassim Haramein, the famous physicist from United States, in Germany. We had together a conference, and he showed me that skull, and he told me that the last owner of this skull, he gave him this skull because the story says that everybody who bought this skull, it's not crystal, but it is a kind of quartz, who bought that skull, he got a very bad luck. And the last one who gave Nassim that skull, he wanted to get married in a few months after he bought that skull. And suddenly, before his marriage, his fiancée passed away. And that's why he didn't want to have that skull. And he gave it to Nassim. Nassim brought it to Germany. He wanted to show me the skull. And he said, you can keep it with you. And I said, but I don't want to own him. I will keep him. And Nassim, we try to find out through psychic help or any help we can get, if we really find out where this skull belongs to, and I think it was part of a grave robbery, we return the skull to the place where he belongs. And since that skull was with and still is with me, but not here in the Philippines, but in my home in Vienna, this skull brought me really good luck. And another funny story, I have the skull in my sleeping room on a border, and he looks exactly to me when I am in the bed. And I have always a good and safe feeling when the skull is with me. And one day, a friend of mine who is a Zen, Zen spiritual master, and he came to my living room and he was sitting there, we were talking, and suddenly he said to me, Klaus, what do you have in your house? I said, what should I have in my house? He said, there is something which has an incredible energy. I said, I have nothing with energy in my house. He said, you have to have something because I feel the energy. I was thinking and I thought, maybe the skull. I went up to my sleeping room, and he couldn't see me when I went out of the room already. He said, he called me already in, and he said, that's it, that's it. I feel the energy. Then I brought the skull downstairs. I put it in front of him on the table. Suddenly he went 1 meter back with his chair, and he said, wow, that skull has an incredible energy. Do you keep it in your house? I said, yes, why? He said, yeah, I could not sleep one moment. I said, I sleep good. He is in my sleeping room. He watched me when I'm sleeping. He said, that's incredible. I could not sleep 1 second. And after that, I got an invitation to a conference speech in Paris. And I brought the skull with me. And one of the speakers was the famous Mayan elders, Humatzman. And sorry, I misspelled it, Humbatzman. And Humbatzman was there, and in the evening we were sitting in the lodge, in the lobby. The organizer asked me, Klaus, can you bring the skull and show it to Humbatzman? I said, yeah, of course. I went up and I brought the skull down. And Humbatzman was really shocked, and he made a meditation in front of that skull. And after about 10-15 minutes, he told me, this is one of the most important skull on earth, and it's very, very old. So that's just 2 stories about this skull. I personally, I have a good feeling, but I cannot feel any strong energy or anything else. And that might be because when the Russian shaman in Interlaken, I asked her, Nina, can you tell me why I don't feel all the energy which many people can feel on some of the artifacts I'm presenting? She said, that is your protection. Otherwise, you would not be able to handle those many very important artifacts. People think I'm collecting. I'm not a collector. I only lend the pieces, and after the exhibition, I return them immediately to their owners, because they have to be there where they should be, not in my so-called collection. The next one is a very interesting skull. Must be from South America, because on the leather box, inside the leather box is a wooden box, and that was the original transportation when Otto Rahn, he was an archaeologist which did a lot of the military SS. He was in the SS, member of the SS, and he did a lot of research in Rennes-le-Château about the Knight Templar, about the Katara and everything, and also in South America he was researching. And that on the leather box, which I show you after this picture, there was written import South America. That means he brought this guy from South America, and the owner was the top of the SS army in the Second World War, Heinrich Himmler. Why do we know that? Because there was the last train from Berlin, close to the end of the Second World War, on the way from Berlin to Prague, Czechoslovakia. Everybody thought so. But in southern Bavaria, there is one small town which is also called Prague. And close to that area was the stop of a train with very many important things on board. And there they found also a list where on that list, original list, is written owner Heinrich Himmler, very important piece, South America, Otto Rahn. So it was owned by Heinrich Himmler, maybe for ceremonies, never knows. And some friends of mine, and especially the owner, they did some tests with lighting and sound. And he told me, we were 3, he said. If I would have been alone, I would really have thought I'm starting to get crazy, because he said as a fact, they could see like a hologram. One situation was he saw a man riding on a camel, looked like Egypt. And the second one, he saw mountains. They saw, because all the 3 had the same impression and viewing, they saw big mountains, the bird, the condor, that must have been Andes, and a sleeping old lady. And he said, when the old lady opened the eyes, he was kind of shocked, and then the picture disappeared. That was like hologram impressions. And he said, really, we were 3 of us. Otherwise, I would have really thought I'm starting getting crazy. And this is a front view of that skull. And this is the box where inside is a wooden box for protection of the skull. And on the skull here, there is written South America, South America in German language. That means from the custom clearance that this piece Otto Rahn brought with him from South America. I hope you liked this presentation, and I hope we meet each other soon on the next presentation. Have a good day, and thank you very much for watching.
Fantastic. Oh my God.